So what is a hero? We have heard lots of definitions today. One of them came from a legendary psychologist. We've had other psychology people. We've had a ninja, Canadians. We've had a lot of input. And I want to give you a different definition, but I'm going to use a different expert for it. It's this guy, maybe, this guy. When I watched this movie the first time, there was a great line towards the end, and it comes from Mumble's mentor, Lovelace. Mumble has gone through this great journey, and he's about to save all of penguin kind, but to do it, he has to dive off a cliff into an unknown ocean and chase after these ships that nobody knows where they're going. And so he does it. And Lovelace yells out after him, "Mumble happy feet, I'm going to be telling your story long after you're gone." And that's what I think a hero is, someone whose story we keep telling. We've been telling hero stories for our entire existence. We've been telling stories in the caves around fires. We've been performing them on stages like this. We've been writing books and reading books and watching movies and TV shows and comic books. And the ones that are successful have great heroes, and those heroes have great messages. So I want to talk a little bit today about that and what that is, how that happens. And why do we have heroes? Well, we have them for those lessons. There's a difference, and I think Scott Allison has talked about this a lot, in saying what is a hero, or who is a hero, and who is my hero. And we've heard that from a few speakers this weekend as well. My hero is. And I think that tells a lot about a person. If you ask someone who is your hero, their answer is going to tell you more about them than any other question you could ask. And so having heroes is incredibly important. So some time ago I had the idea of putting these heroes together for people to find. I made a website, and there's about 400 heroes there that people visit every day and find new heroes, because we need to find new heroes. We need to keep exploring. Last year, or earlier this year, I suggested to a friend of mine that we create a book of heroes. I didn't want to do all of the famous heroes that everybody's heard of, that have movies made about them and have their stories told every year or every month in classrooms. And I want to go through a few of them to talk about what I think is important about their stories and what it teaches us about heroism. So, why am I the one having the problem with the clicker? André de Jong was a Belgian girl. She grew up with a hero. Her hero was Edith Cavell, who was an English nurse. And Edith, during World War I, rescued fallen soldiers from the Allies. So she found them and she helped them escape back to England in some way. She worked for the Red Cross. When André grew up, World War II started. I think she was 21, 22, and Belgium was part of the war again and had been invaded. And England was sending planes, and these planes were getting shot down. And these airmen were often surviving. But what to do? You've fallen behind enemy lines. So André, following in her hero's footsteps, joined in the Red Cross as a volunteer, and then thought, I've got to do more. And she started working on creating a network of safe houses where these soldiers and airmen could hide, and then a network of them all the way from Belgium across France, over mountains and fields where the war was going on, into Spain, where she could hand them over to an English consulate and they could get back. She was 22. They sent the first one over, and people didn't believe that it would work. So André went herself. She led a group of airmen on this incredible journey, and she did it incredibly fast. And she got there and they said, well, She can do it. We're gonna take who she brings. One of the first people she rescued was an Australian, and Australians are a very ungracious lot. He looked at her, Australian in the house. He looked at her and said, "What, are we getting saved by a high school girl?" And that was the attitude she found over and over and over again, but she went through it. And she ended up saving, I think, 400 airmen by herself. She was captured, she was turned in eventually, as all of these people knew would happen. And she was beaten, she was tortured, until finally she said, "Yes, I am the head of the Comet Line." And the Gestapo laughed at her and put her in prison. They didn't believe her. And she survived and went on to do great work after this. Another great hero that not a lot of people know about is Bayard Rustin. He was a central piece of the civil rights movement. Everyone's heard about Martin Luther King. This guy was the guy that made Martin Luther King. When King started his movement, he was surrounded by armed guards. Bayard Rustin believed in non-violence. He had studied Gandhi, he had been to India, and he said to King, "If you want this to work, you can't fight violence with violence because you're going to lose." And that changed everything. He organized the March on Washington that allowed King to deliver his "I Have a Dream" speech. And he was gay, and that's the reason we don't know about him. But he would never hide that, and that's the reason we've never heard about him. Because other people in the civil rights movement said, "We can't have this guy up front." He did it anyway. He stayed true to himself. Chuuni Tsuguhara was a Japanese man living in Lithuania during World War II. He saved over 2,500 people by writing them visas to get to Japan. And this man woke up every morning writing these visas knowing that his life was on the line, his job was on the line. But he did it anyway. And he did this because of the way that he was brought up. His mother was a samurai, and the samurai lived by an honor code. And so Chuuni Tsuguhara grew up with an honor code, and that honor code helped him make the right decision over and over and over again. Another example, if you were here last year, you would have seen Ethan King, who at 10 years of age went to Africa with his parents, took a soccer ball and started playing with the local kids. He was so affected by their intense excitement about a real soccer ball that he came back to Michigan at 10 years of age and started his own non-profit to send soccer balls to kids living in poverty around the world. He shows that there is no age limit to heroism. Irena Sender, you heard about yesterday. Her important part, I think, is that she built a team around her. And again, she's someone who went day after day and risked herself day after day. And at the end of her job, she didn't tell anyone about it. People didn't know about it, as you heard Megan say yesterday. Irene Morgan, you're probably familiar with this story, except you've probably heard it from as Rosa Parks. Irene Morgan, 10 years before Rosa Parks, refused to give up her seat. The bus pulled into the next town and she was arrested, and she kicked that man in the shins so hard that he had to get someone else to arrest her. And she got 2 fines, one for kicking a police officer and one for refusing to give up her seat. She paid the ticket for the kicking of the police officer. She said, "I was wrong, I did the wrong thing, I'm sorry, but I'm not going to pay for sitting on my seat on the bus." And her case went to the Supreme Court and started a lot of good. Sophie Shaw was a young girl living in Germany during the World War II. She was surrounded by people who thought Hitler was amazing. She and her friends did not. And they risked their lives to hand out pamphlets to educate people as to what was really happening. And she lost her life. She was arrested and she was put to death immediately. And she said she regretted nothing. She did what she had to do. You might have seen this guy just a few minutes before. He's... yeah, DJ's quite... What's great about this And the story you just heard is that Travis and David used the power of symbol to communicate a message. You know, they understood that having everyone look different was going to communicate better than they possibly could with their voices. That's why they're in a hero book. And finally, I'll give you an Australian example. Vincent Lingiari fought for workers' rights among Aborigines in Australia. They were essentially put into slave labour. They were working for basically nothing. Their women were treated horribly. And one day, Vincent Lingiari just said, enough, let's walk off. And they left the job and they sat down by a creek and waited for weeks and months until change happened. And they did create change. The reason I created this book with Matthew was really our daughters. You ready? I wanted my daughter to have some heroes, and she has. She picked out her favorite hero. Thank you. She picked out Travis Price, randomly enough, as her favorite hero. But where is Matthew Osmond? Come on out. He also had a good reason for getting involved in this book, and I'll let him explain. Or I'll let him show you.
I call her Goobins. Her full nickname is Bobby Goobins. I don't know what it means. Hey, Bob Goose. It's a microphone.
Go. Why are you involved?
So I'm involved because of Matt Langdon, and I'm extremely proud to be involved with this book. No? Okay, you want to go back down? Okay. You want to stand here? I just wanted to...
What I think is important for you guys to hear is that if you're a parent, if you know someone young, get them some heroes. It's very hard to find these people these days because our screens are full of superheroes, of anti-heroes. Our TV shows are filled with bad men who are being celebrated as heroes. I'll let Matt finish.
So I have nothing profound to say except that it was really fun to work on the heroes, and I was kind of like, I had like a couple done and then a couple done, and then I needed to do like 12 more in like a month and a half or something. So I was kind of like locked in my closet for a while. But I did want to say one thing, and that is that I think I invented I think I studied the bystander effect way before Zimbardo.
Probably.
Because in fourth grade, I had a crush on this girl named Shannon Lenhart, and she liked Billy Hall. And he would always get hurt on the playground, and she would run to him, right? So I thought that I would do the same thing. So, and I've done it like 5 times in fourth grade. And every single time she would just pass by me. I would be writhing in fake pain right in front of her. So I wanted to talk to Zimbardo about that because I'm really curious about what that means or what it's called. And if you'd like to use that, I might have had it documented somewhere in a notebook somewhere. So I'm just saying.
So thank you guys very much. Find some heroes.
The Hero Roundtables are the global events that ask the question, what is a hero? You've just seen one hero talk. To find more and join the conversation, visit our website or social media.